Hi guys, I'm Sadie, and today we're back playing the finale of Buried. This is indeed Chapter 5. If you've missed anything, I'll leave a link down there to a playlist. You can catch up on all the chapters that you might have missed. I'm sure there are heck of spoilers in this chapter because this is the end. Everything has gone to crap, and we are about to figure everything out, hopefully, get the rest of the answers that we need, and make our escape. So let's jump right into it. Chapter 5. We are now inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door, shut tight. Far away from us, along the back wall, are all sorts of controls and monitors. It seems clear that this metal door is impenetrable, at least to them. I'm fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis looks like a walking corpse, and I do everything in my power not to let this show on my expression. His face is in a grimace, and he shouts at me, "To hell with you! What were you thinking?" Blood pools on the floor below wherever he holds his arm. I say nothing. It is all too much. My brain feels like jelly. "We need to get him some help, or he's going to bleed to death," Amy says. We are interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. "Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?" the man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume that this is Barksdale. He walks over to us from the back recess of the chamber. "We didn't have a choice," Amy responds. "We had to—" "Did you override the locks on the hangar doors?" Barksdale demands. "Yes, I did, but we had to—" "Do you have any idea what you could have done?" Amy doesn't answer right away. She is furious, but she's also scared and visibly exhausted. So do we ask, who is this dude? Or do we just stay quiet? I think at this moment it would be best for us to stay quiet. "Look, Barksdale," see? I knew she'd address him eventually. "You can berate me and lecture me all you want when this mess is over, but right now I have wounded civilian here, and as you can see, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that'd be great." I'm impressed by her guts, and I wonder if there's some sort of beef between the two of them. Surely working in a place like this could cause some stress and tension between people. As we wait, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and I look out at the things. They're still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. Okay, this is childish. I would love to do that because I am childish, but we're going to do nothing. I still don't understand what these things are capable of, and trying to figure it out hurts my head, so I decide to leave them be. "You'll be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way," Barksdale says to Amy. "Reprimand me all you want. I'd like to survive this first." "Cover your ears," Barksdale shouts, walking away toward the far end of the room. "Stay put until you hear back from me." "Thank you," Amy says with fire in her voice. Then she turns to me and says, "Better do what the man says." Okay, cover our ears. I clap my hands over my ears just in time to protect my hearing from a deafening blast. I am still bleeding, and the sudden movement to cover my ears makes me feel dizzy. Dennis clumsily covers one ear with his hand and one ear with his bandaged arm. When I see the shape that he is in, I get myself in check. You can lean your ear against your shoulder and cover the other with your hand. It works really well. Compared to Dennis, I'm in tip-top shape. But I did that. I took the shot that took his hand off. I need to make all of that mean something. More bursts of a loud, explosive noise start ringing out. Looking through the peephole again, I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes in a puff of smoke and clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far side of the room. He's firing through a small slit in the wall. He's using a high-powered weapon, the likes of which I've never seen. I see a slight movement as the gun kicks, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately, another monster is downed, its tentacles flailing around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude and an immense satisfaction in knowing that they are being picked off in such a way. Problem, there's a slit in the wall. That's an entry point. That's not good. That's a bad thing. I'm actually pointing at the screen like an idiot and you can't see me. Continue watching or sit down and rest? Well, I'm afraid if we sit down and rest, Barksdale's going to take that as like a personal affront, like we're lazy. So, but continue watching seems kind of lame too, although if there's only one slit in the wall, God willing, there's only one slit in the wall. And only one high-powered gunny thingy. We're just going to continue watching. I slide my eye up to the peephole again and watch what effect the shots are having outside. Because I know that the white liquid and gas is creature blood, seeing it draws up a frenzied bloodlust in me. Another is blasted in the center, the translucent shell collapsing inward as its light dies. Yet another is shot in a mass of floating tentacles, causing its body to disappear as it dips in and out of existence. After several moments, my view is blocked by a splatter of white liquid that covers the peephole. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks back over to our side of the room. They're all gone, Barksdale says, and I have resealed the hangar doors. How did you kill them like that? I ask. Classified weapons that, quite frankly, you have no business being near. Amy gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. Thanks. How badly are the civilians hurt? Barksdale asks. One is in very bad shape, Amy says. He's lost a hand and a lot of blood. The other is not too bad. I see a laceration on his back, but that's about it. Okay, I'll have Strickland get a med kit. Strickland survived? Amy asks. She sounds cheerful. Yes, and until you and your friends showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she's on her way. With that said, he retreats away to the back of the room, as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up. Is she a doctor or something? Well, sort of. She's a physicist, but oddly enough, she spent time as a trauma nurse in the army. Is this Strickland a friend of yours? I ask. Amy chuckles. Yeah, we've known each other for a while. The only women in a sea of overachieving men. Alright, so while it would be really funny to tell her Barksdale sounds like a prick, because funny and true, that's really not constructive. It's really not going to get us anywhere. He'll probably overhear us, and it'll set him off anyway. He is in the same room after all. So you must be glad that Strickland survived. But Barksdale's a prick. I am. We usually have lunch together, she says, and she's helped me out from a few tight spots in my career. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens, and a woman appears from back further in the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She's dressed in a very basic and drab military getup, complete with holstered sidearm. My name is Connie Strickland, she says. I can patch you guys up pretty well, but it's gonna hurt. She looks closely at Dennis, looking him over with the precise care and attention. You're not in the best shape. He responds with a grunt. Seriously, I can fix you up, but only temporarily. You need intensive care for that arm. First things first, though. Strickland pours a liquid over his maimed arm and begins stitching. She then wraps his arm up with 3 entire spools of gauze. Blood shows through right away. That's the best I can do for now, she tells him, giving him a sympathetic frown. I could care less, Dennis mutters. I'm a cripple. Do whatever you want, as though it matters. Fuck you, Dennis. I'm not a cripple. You can eat my asshole. Strickland then looks at me. Sit down. Let's see if we can get your shirt off. I sit down slowly and I start unbuttoning my shirt. She has to help me slip it off my shoulders, but we manage. How bad is it? I ask her. Bad, she says. It's almost like a burn, but I've seen much worse. Your friend here, for example. I might as well talk to Strickland, if only to distract myself from the pain. So do we ask her what's her story, or ask her if she's a scientist too? We already know she's a scientist, although this might get us some answers about the experiments, but it probably wouldn't because Dude Guy Bro is sitting right there. Barksdale dude. Her story might give us some in-between-the-lines kind of information, so we're going to go with this. What's your story? Strickland rolls her eyes as she gathers up a needle and some thread. I was always into fringe science, she says. I started in labs where these eccentric Russian scientists were being funded by the US to work on combining DNA types. I sort of became obsessed with perfecting human physiology while I was a trauma nurse in the Army. So you're a mad scientist, I say. Yeah, well, I get that a lot, but no, not compared to the stuff that we actually do here. What kind of stuff, or I don't even want to know. No, I want to know. What kind of stuff? Let's see if Barksdale let her get away with this. It's complicated. Komar masses, quantum gravity, crunching things down to their Schwarzschild radiuses, stuff like that. Fun stuff. Yeah, mad scientist, I say, trying to keep myself calm with dry humor. There are lots of small labs working on the same kind of thing, she argues. They just don't have our funding. When you guys ran in here, she says, I was horrified. Those barrels outside, I'm not sure if you saw them, but well, if you had shot them, that would have been bad. Why? I ask. The gray ones are filled with an experimental fuel that is highly flammable. The yellow ones have liquid nitrogen in them. What? They're just laying around? Well, this area is the safest in the building. It is the most secure. Well, I mean, it used to be anyway. And take this, she says, handing me 4 pills. These are painkillers. They won't work immediately, but they'll dull the worst of what you're feeling. Is that the best idea? I ask. I mean, won't they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something? But all I get in response is an annoyed and determined look. Take the painkillers, don't take the painkillers. Oh, crap. Well, I've been on heavy-duty painkillers, which is probably what she just handed us. And they definitely make you out of sorts. That's cute. No, they knock your butt out. I don't know that I want to take... I'm not going to take them right now. No. You refuse to take the painkillers. Really, I say, I don't want to be lightheaded in case we have to move fast. I can handle it. You'd be a lot more than lightheaded, honey. You'd be down for the count like elephant tranquilizer. Your call, Strickland says, and she starts working on me. She slathers the wound with some sort of liquid that stings like crazy, and I gasp. Grin and bear it, motherfucker. You decided not to take the pills? Are you ready to stab me yet? Strickland asks. I'm fine, I hiss, and I wince as she dabs at my eye, swollen from where Marcus had kicked me. I grit my teeth in pain, and I try to catch my breath. Dennis comes out of his haze, and he tries speaking to Strickland, but his words are all slurred. White light from the ground, Dennis says. Think that caused power outage? Think that brought the monsters out? Could be, Strickland says, but your crew was far enough away from the facility, or at least we thought you were. Dennis chuckles in a way that makes him sound menacing. Nope, wrong. You thought wrong. So you and Barksdale are the only survivors? Amy asks. It sure seems that way. Those that didn't disappear into thin air were killed by those things, Strickland says, nodding at the secured door. How many were killed or no one else made it? Well, she just said no one else made it, so let's ask her how many. I'm guessing 30 or so, Strickland says. I'm not really sure how many were scheduled to be in today. Well, I'm glad to see you. Where were you when it happened? Amy asks her. I was in the micro lab on level 2, Strickland replies. Park and O'Brien were in there with me, and they just disappeared. It looked like they were being stretched and distorted, and then there was a ball of white light, and they were gone. The ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Would it leave a perfectly round hole? I asked, a light bulb turning on in my head. We saw one of those up at the logging site. Yeah, I saw a ball of white light too, Dennis chimes in. That was probably the same phenomenon, Strickland replies. Amy looks at the ground like a child who is afraid to ask an adult for something. Finally, she says, where did they go? We don't know, Strickland says. It could be an infinite number of different dimensions, or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could also be a place that exists between dimensions. Barksdale calls that the void. I'd call it dead, or how is that possible? I'm going to say how is that possible. We're not going to be jokesies. She's actually like, they're having like grown-up conversation. We're going to be grown-ups, which is hard for me, granted. We don't know that just yet, Strickland says. Our understanding of space-time is still evolving, especially when you start warping it the way we've been doing, Amy adds. That point seems to be the end of the conversation as both women fall quiet. Darn it, I thought they'd gap some more. I winced through the rest of Strickland's stitching, feeling a tug of my skin, but thankfully no more flowing blood. Finally, Strickland says, "You're good to go." She looks over at Dennis one more time. He doesn't so much as stir when she rechecks her work. She's already having to remove the gauze on his wrist, as it is soaked straight through with blood. The wound looks like it's starting to clot, so that's good at least. I stare at the floor as Strickland does what she can. Will he make it? I ask her. I'm not a doctor, Strickland says. Not really. But based on the bit I know, I'd say it's about 50-50 right now. So, have you and Barksdale been able to contain all of the creatures? Amy asks. Strickland appears shocked. Clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening? Amy's eyes widen in fearful confusion. What do you mean, what's happening, other than the experiment failure? The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source, Strickland says. The casual humor in her voice is now gone. What anomalies? Further from the source. We know what the anomalies are, so let's say further from the source? From the location of the original experiment, she says. The experiment caused the first doorway to open, but it set off a chain reaction. They're gaining momentum along geodesics emanating from the facility. It's these pockets of exotic matter and negative energy that are letting them in. What the hell does that mean? Dennis asks. I assume that he's stoned out of his mind on painkillers, so yes. It means, Amy chimes in, that those doorways and those monsters are starting to appear all over the facility, possibly even on the surface. No, not yet, luckily, Strickland says, but the doorway will start appearing on the surface, and it won't stop there. The anomaly's reach could extend infinitely as far as we know. The entities will appear on the surface in other states or even other countries. Holy shit, I say. You mean the world is going to be overrun? The horror of the past few hours has made me ready to believe anything, but this is too much. Unfortunately, yes, Strickland says. My God, Amy says, stepping away. Isn't there anything we can do? There is a last resort, says Strickland, her eyes darting over to Barksdale at the back of the room. There's an emergency fail-safe switch. What? Amy says. I've never heard of that. Where? You weren't cleared for it, Strickland replies. And that switch, Amy says, it's the way to stop all of this? Yes, Strickland says, seeming uneasy with the conversation. What does the switch do, or why haven't you hit it already? I think either way we're going to find out what it does. Because I'm going to say, why didn't you hit it already? And she's going to say, because it's going to torch everything in a 50-mile radius. If I say, what does the switch do? She's going to say, it's going to torch everything in a 50-mile radius and possibly turn the Earth into a black hole and whatever, doom and gloom. Or maybe it's like rainbows and unicorns. I mean, who knows? Why haven't you hit it already? I think that's... Yeah. Because she's going to tell us what the problem is. Yeah, well, there are two problems with hitting it, Strickland says. The switches are eraser. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any systems or experiments that were being conducted. It's also an emergency shutdown for interdimensional travel. It puts an event horizon around the facility. Whoa. What the hell is that? I ask, incredulous. It's a perimeter of a black hole. I wasn't all that far off. You guys were laughing at me. The boundary inside which nothing can escape, not even light. So the first problem is we'd all be killed, sucked into a black hole before we'd even have time to evacuate. The second reason, Strickland whispers, suddenly quiet, is that Barksdale won't allow it. What? Amy gasps. Why not? He wants to let those things flood the surface. Thousands and millions of people will die. Strickland puts her hand up, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know, but he says he doesn't care. He says he'd be happy to be rid of the oversight so he can continue his work. The oversight? Amy almost screams, regaining control over her voice when Strickland gives her a look of warning. You mean our government? I ask. He's aware that this could disrupt or even topple our government, and he doesn't care? Strickland sighs. Barksdale is, well, he's off the range right now. He's gone a little rogue, and he's armed. This comment makes me look toward the handgun that I brought in with me. I had nearly forgotten it in the last few moments. While Barksdale has had his back turned, I take it in my hands and I slide it behind me. And just in time, too, as Barksdale walks over from the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives Strickland a suspicious look before he begins speaking with her. "Are the two civilians going to survive?" he asks. Dennis chuckles at this, and I am relieved to see that his eyes are now open. He gives me a lazy thumbs up. "One is stitched, the other's good to go, but the other one here is in bad shape. He needs immediate medical attention." "Understood," Barksdale says. "Amy, it's quite nice to see that you've survived," he says. "Were there any others?" The aloof way that this asshole is talking to us is really getting under my skin. "A guy named Marcus who works on the first level from IT, Amy says. "That's all I know for sure." "Oh, Marcus Papsco," Barksdale says. "Where is he?" "We're not sure. He was separated from us," I say. "Oh," Barksdale replies, clearly taken aback by my stern reply. "That's unfortunate." Barksdale seems to think about something and then looks directly at me. "You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how'd you get in here again?" Oh, here we go. We were searching for our crew or through a building on the surface. Well, they're both true. What's going to keep him from flipping out? We were searching for our crew. Ah, makes sense. The cloaks for the entrance shed are tied to a primary source, Barksdale says. We lost primary power just before the experiment failed. Cloak? Yes, Strickland says. The shed that you went through is usually not visible to the naked eye. Depending on the power sources that were damaged, Barksdale continues, it could have also shut down the locking systems before the backup kicked in. Everything is starting to make sense now. From the very beginning, it had seemed peculiar that we had so easily been able to walk into a place like this. Where's the rest of our crew, or what caused the experiment to fail? Barksdale's not going to let me. He knows I'm a civilian. He's not going to talk like that. He doesn't even talk to me. "Are the civilians okay, bruh?" God, that's like the men at the frickin' car dealership who always talk to my husband instead of me. "Oh, what kind of car do you want?" "No, it's my car. My car. Talk to me. Here. Over here." He's not going to answer us if we ask this directly. So, where's the rest of our crew? Sorry, I had a little rant there, didn't I? "Your crew?" Barksdale asks. "Frank? Joe? They're gone." "Gone? Gone where?" Dennis asks, his voice is trembling. "They were annihilated by the antimatter pockets created during the failure. A bright ball of light. In the aftermath, all you would have seen was a round hole in the ground." Barksdale says this like he's sharing yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands. I had suspected this, all this time, that they were already dead. Behind me, Dennis lets out the beginnings of a sob. "Damn it! Damn it!" he mutters over and over again. So what do we do now, or what caused the experiment to fail? Again, I don't think if I ask this head on, he's going to answer us. So what now? "Now it's time to continue our work," Barksdale says calmly, turning away to the instruments on the near wall. "You're insane, or keep quiet." Yeah, no. If I call him insane, he's going to shoot me in the face. Because he's insane. Duh. So I'm going to keep quiet. This guy sounds like a complete lunatic, but he's a lunatic who's accustomed to power and armed with some sort of advanced weaponry. So I keep my intentions unspoken, assuming that Barksdale is just used to going unchallenged by the people he considers beneath him. He certainly seems like that type. "I want to continue my work," Barksdale muses. "Other researchers will eventually discover what we have, sure, but I want it to be me. This is my laboratory. These are my experiments. The work that I've led here will earn me my place in history, and quite frankly, I don't need to explain it to you. Up on the surface, they'll struggle to defend themselves, since they won't know what they're dealing with, but I have the necessary weapons. After a few months, well, who knows? Maybe I'll decide that the world is ready for me to help them, and then we'll go from there." Oh my God, he's a megalomaniac. He turns his back to us as he says this, walking to the far side of the chamber again, like we're some sort of distraction. Amy takes this opportunity to whisper to us. "We need to hit that switch," she says. "It's the only option. What he's saying is murder, treason, and genocide." She looks over at Strickland for support, trailing off, but Strickland looks at the ground, clearly torn. She won't look anyone in the eye and makes an effort not to look at Barksdale. He seems distracted with whatever instruments he's studying on the far side of the room. At this moment I realize that my body feels like a bomb went off inside of it. Maybe those painkillers wouldn't have been so bad. Strickland finally whispers a response. Even if we decide that we want to hit that switch, Barksdale won't allow it. To hell with him, or figure something out. I don't want to be too cavalier. We need to plan this. To hell with him is awfully flip. You can figure something out. Why does she drug him? Maybe you guys could make a break for it, Strickland whispers. Where's the switch located? Amy asks. There's an elevator out in the hangar, Strickland says. Take it to the basement. The switch is at the end of a long tunnel. But Strickland never finishes. Two things happen at once as she speaks. Her mouth stops in mid-sentence. First, a loud booming noise rings out, and then the top of her head seems to explode. Amy screams in surprise, and Dennis and I jump back in shock as Strickland's body collapses beside me. Behind her fallen body, Barksdale is holding his experimental rifle, and now he's pointing it at all of us. Oh my God, you never kill the doctor. Like, are you stupid? Have you never played a survival game? Like, you don't kill the doctor. This dude is Looney Tunes. Crap. I liked Strickland. She was telling us stuff. Great. Now it's all crazy pants in here, too. I wonder if Barksdale is even crazier than Marcus was. He just shot a woman who worked for him to keep her quiet. Surely he won't have an issue with killing me. Now, Barksdale yells, no more whispering, no more secrets. You three will stay in here and get away from that door. If anyone whispers one more thing, I will blow your heads off. My mind is racing to try to figure a way through the secure door and out back into the hangar. Beyond that, of course, is the failsafe switch. Insult Barksdale or make a distraction? Oh my God. Well, I don't want to insult him. I really want to insult him, but I don't want to insult him. Distraction's not gonna... What? Oh man. Oh man. I have a feeling so much hinges on this and I'm being a puss and I can't make a decision. I really want to hurl insults at him. I wonder how he would take that. I'm gonna do it. Screw it. You're a frickin' jerk. With no other ideas, I resort to something that I know how to do well. Be noisy. Oh yeah. You moron, I say. For someone in such a position of power, you think like an idiot. Go ahead and kill me, but then you better get someone out into those woods to move my equipment. You really want the police snooping around a wrecked logging site for missing loggers? If someone as dumb as me found my way into your little hideout, my rant is having its intended effect. Barksdale's teeth are clenched and rage fills his eyes. You're a fool, he shouts. You don't have the slightest idea how difficult the work we do here is, how advanced, how world-changing. Keep him talking. Yes, keep him talking. You scientists think you're so smart, I interrupt, but you have no common sense. All the knowledge in the world is useless if you don't have a moral compass. Barksdale is starting to lose control. His breathing intensifies. If you think for one moment that you could do... As quickly as I can, I raise my gun and I fire. I don't even take aim. I just fire in his general direction. Barksdale takes off running. My shot misses wide. He runs for cover at the back of the room, but that's all we need. Amy also fires a shot to keep him under cover as we head for the door. Amy pushes a button and the door swings open. Barksdale will be on us in a hot second, so we dash out into the hangar ready to defend ourselves. Oh crap, we left Dennis in there with crazy pants. Oh, Dennis. Continue. Oh, it's messy out here. It's messy. All three of us? Three of us. Dennis got up. Run as fast as we can through the rows of barrels. Right away, though, Barksdale's gunfire separates us. Dude, bro, you're firing at flammable stuff. I hear a shot hit nearby as I dive down, and I realize that neither Dennis nor Amy is with me. I hear Amy cry out from elsewhere in the barrels. Peering down the barrel closest to me, I can see Dennis. He's crawling slowly on the floor 2 rows away from me. Seeing him move so slowly, I can't imagine how he's finding the strength to even do that. Stop all this nonsense, Barksdale yells at us. I've got a good mind to shoot the fuel and kill all of you. It's then that I realize that not getting away from these barrels might be our death sentence. Tell them to get away. Before I can do anything, a shot comes from the isolation chamber. It is immediately followed by a pinging sound and a massive wall of heat. I feel the heat before I feel the force of the explosion. It occurs several rows ahead of me, and I can still feel the physical push of it. I hear Dennis scream, and then a clang of metal. That's when another barrel explodes, and then another. I realize that I could run back to help them, or I could try to get myself clear. I might not have enough time to do either before the next round of eruptions. What the hell should I do? You have to help your friends. You have to. You decide to run back to the flames to help. My instinct to help overcomes my instinct to survive. If I don't help them now, the exploding barrels will leave Dennis and Amy as good as dead. I turn and I start heading their way, but I am not quick enough. Another barrel blows up between us and throws me back across the hangar floor. My face and arms scream with unimaginable pain of deep burns as I am lifted from the ground and tossed forward by the explosion. I slowly muscle myself up off the ground, and I try to regain my footing. My entire body is sore, begging me to stop. When I look back for Dennis and Amy, the scene is not promising. Neither of them seems able to move on their own. Dennis is laying flat on his face, unmoving. Amy is about 20 feet from him. She's wailing in pain and clutching her leg. Behind them, I see Barksdale looking for a shot through the fire and the evaporated liquid nitrogen. I fire a single shot just to get him to duck back. I look back to Dennis and Amy and see the fire nearing the fuel barrels. I can keep Barksdale pinned down maybe long enough to pick them up one by one and help them walk to the elevator, but more barrels could blow at any moment. I might only have time to save one. Oh, crap. Dennis is my friend, but Amy knows what was going on, and she could corroborate the story so much better. Oh my God. Really, game? Really, I hate you. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I gotta help Dennis. I can't. He's my friend. You choose to help Dennis first. I take a deep breath and I sprint back out into the open among the fire and the heat. Right away, I start taking blind shots at Barksdale. He fires back only once, and then the shot goes off into the glowing flames around me. I take one more shot, and then I reach down for Dennis. He is basically dead weight at this point. He is almost too heavy for me, but I manage to get him to his feet. My wounded shoulder screams in pain. I drag him back, narrowly avoiding the fire and the death. I try shooting at Barksdale, but trying to aim the gun while carrying Dennis proves to be too much for me. Barksdale gets a single shot off as we round the corner to where the elevator waits. I set Dennis down. He's still unresponsive. I am drenched in sweat. I wheel around and head back out to get Amy, but I only make it a single step before I see her. I open my mouth to call to her, but an explosion right beside her cuts me off. She is shoved hard to the left from the force. I run to help, but Barksdale's firing again. I give Amy one last regretful look, and then I rush to the elevator and Dennis. My nerves are drenched in fear and adrenaline. When I reach out to press the call button, it feels like I'm watching someone else do it. As Dennis and I step inside, the motors of the elevator squeal like dying dogs. It's an old service elevator, one made of wood and metal, like something from a coal mine. As the elevator slides down, the light from the flames give way to complete blackness. Now, it's just me and Dennis once again. Oh, I couldn't save Amy. Oh, you suck, game. Oh my, this is an old corridor. I lose track of how long the elevator descends. It's hard to tell due to the lack of lighting, but it must go another 500 feet underground. The elevator comes to a stop with a shuddering clang, and I waste no time exiting. A tunnel stretches out with sparse white light bulbs lighting the way. Most of the wall is made of raw earth and rock, but there are some boards and concrete slathered in areas used to reinforce the tunnel. I see a warning sign posted on the wall. I want to read it, but there's not much time. No, we read it. We read the thing. Warning. Authorized personnel only beyond this point. Trespassers will be prosecuted to the furthest extent of the law. Absolutely no exceptions. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way now that everyone is dead. After only a few steps, the pain in my body intensifies. How stupid was I to turn down those painkillers? I look up, and when I see that the tunnel's ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, claustrophobia freezes me for a moment. You actually weren't stupid. You would not have been able to pick up Dennis and do all this. The ceiling is not high, and there is barely enough room for Dennis and me to walk side by side. His eyes are half closed, and he looks on the very verge of passing out again. It's okay, I tell him. We're almost done. It's just a little further, all right? But he shakes his head and he says, I'm sorry, Roger. I don't think I can go any further. I lower him to the floor as easily as I can, and I let him rest. I'll be right back, I tell him, hoping that it's true. The kill switch should be down here somewhere. I give Dennis one last look, and then I start down the tunnel ahead of me. I look up, and when I see that the tunnel ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, why are we repeating? Sorry? Still, it's better than facing the monsters above me. I wonder, walking through the darkness, where they came from, is that portal still open? I keep walking, and within 5 minutes, the glow of the red light from the elevator has diminished. It is almost completely dark. I hold my gun in one hand, and I reach out to touch the wall with the other. Feeling the gun against my palm anchors me in reality, in sanity. I'm not in some boundless abyss. I am still in the real world. For a little while longer, at least. I recognize that I am marching to my end. As much as I wish I weren't, it's not surprising. Good use of the subjunctive there. From the moment I saw what those creatures could do to time and space, at least a part of me knew that death was inevitable. Before I have time to wonder what will happen, I suddenly see a light ahead. It's nothing more than a little speck of blue light, but in the darkness of the tunnel it's like a lighthouse on a stormy sea. I slog forward, my eyes straining to focus on that little light. From somewhere else ahead, I start to hear something that sounds like water. It's trickling lightly like a leaky faucet. And behind that, there's something that sounds like the wind, like a light breeze through an open field, and a voice. Anywhere else, the sounds would have been pleasant, but here in the blackness of the tunnel, they are menacing. Stay quiet. I ain't saying a damn thing. I don't make a sound, instead trying to make sense of what's going on around me. I cock my head and I try to concentrate, and then I realize that I can see the tunnel walls now. Well, this is odd. I wasn't able to see them a few seconds ago. This is different from the blue light at the end of the tunnel, and it's then that I see a slight shimmering in the air. It looks like a foggy mirror steamed over after a shower, and it's moving, dancing through the air like some abstract firefly. But it's not menacing like the creatures, so that threat is null. It's almost peaceful and serene. I watch as this shimmer branches out and becomes 2, and then 3, and then 4. They snake out in different directions, tracing the tunnel walls. Are these shimmers the doors to the other dimensions that Strickland was talking about? Suddenly I'm surrounded by light above and below me, and I realize there's no avoiding it. The question is, how am I going to go through? Oh boy. I don't trust them. I think they're going to bite you. Going head first, going fevers. Nah, head first. Always head first. I stick my head through and feel a tingling sensation. It's almost pleasant. I reach out slowly, my hand stretching out to one of the shimmers of what I can only assume is some sort of light. They are hypnotizing, so much so that I don't realize that the tunnel walls are vanishing. Uh-oh. I feel something like wind and a brief electrical pulse pass through me as the lights take me. There is then a very gentle pushing sensation, and I somehow know that I am being expelled. I have passed through something. Maybe the lights, maybe the tunnel walls, I don't know. But the shimmering lights fade a bit, still dancing in the air, but no longer large and branching. And as my eyes adjust, I see right away that I am no longer standing in the dark tunnel beneath the hangar. I have no idea where I am. I'm just somewhere else, and I'm terrified. Oh, jeez. Oh my, alien planet. The ground I land on looks like hot coals. There are dips and many cliffs breaking the landscape ahead of me. There's a wash of orange and blue overhead in the sky, but it makes no sense. It is both beautiful and terrifying at once. A scattering of stars hang overhead, and they all seem to be breathing and pulsing with a gentle energy as if they were alive. I can't tell if there are clouds in this sky because everything about it, from the colors to the trembling horizon line, seems to be amorphous. Everything is knitted together and living. I stare a moment longer and I swear I feel the sky breathing. Far off to my right, I see what looks to be a plume of fire, small but bright, with no source of fuel. It looks as if the ground itself is creating the flames. Several more of these flames dot the landscape further away. The air is thick and muggy, and I realize something horrible. I don't know if what I'm breathing here is air at all. In a place like this, one of impossible beauty but also very stark horror, my mind doesn't know what to do. A wave of nausea overcomes me, and I think I might be sick. I'm not sure if it would be better to fight it or just give in. The white light that brought me here is now nowhere to be found. Is anyone else even here? Is there any way to escape? Oh boy, so do we yell or do we look around? I think if we give in to yelling, we're going to give in to panic. So let's look around. Let's try to calm ourselves. I continue to look out at this nightmarish landscape, and I see a few other unexplainable oddities. There are billowing flames in the distance. Not like a volcano or an explosion, just some sort of slow heat crawling upwards that defies reality. This analogy seems even more fitting when I see the thin, vein-like roots of the fire twisting into the ground and then darting back out in all directions. I get that sick feeling again in my gut, and I realize my mind just needs something to focus on. And it is then that I hear a voice. It's faint, distant. I turn and I hear it coming out of one of the massive crevices along the ground. Inside of that crack, about 10 feet down, a very pale man lies on a ledge. He is human, but he looks close to death. He's in the center of a very large pool of blood, and his left leg has been twisted and torn in an unnatural way. As I walk to the ledge, he looks up and he sees me. "Help me, please," the man says. His eyes are wide, although everything about him speaks of weakness. He is close to death or insanity or both. "Who are you?" "I'm Dr. Canna." He strains to get out. "I work in the facility. Please help me." I want to know more, but it seems cruel to steal what looks like his last breaths just to answer my questions. "I'd love to," I say, "but I don't know where the hell I am or how to get back home." "The light. It's a doorway. It might take you back to the facility." Might, or where did it go? Where did it go? They come and go. They'll be back. Please help me." I desperately want to help him, but there is no way I can reach him. His ledge is too far away, above the pools of fire. "I don't think I can get to you," I tell him. "No, that's not what I mean," he replies. His eyes are on the handgun that I almost forgot I'm holding, and I realize what he wants, but I shake my head. I can't do that," I say. "Please," he pleads. "Those things, they have the others that came here with me. I got dropped along the way. They will be back. They'll be back and they'll kill me, and that," he indicates the gun, "will be quicker and less painful." "But I can't," I repeat. "Please, look at my damn leg. I'm dead anyway." I'm about to refuse him again when I hear an all too familiar static sound come from another crevice behind him. I hear another of those shrill noises, and then I watch as one of the monsters materializes up and out of the neighboring crevice. 2 more come out just after it, then a third, then 5, then 10. Soon I lose count as what was just a few turns into a flood. And I suddenly understand the man's reasoning. A bullet would be mercy. I check the gun and see that I only have 1 round left. I can use it on this guy, but I might need it for myself later. From beside me, the man pleads again. "My God," he says, a waver of lunacy in his voice. "Please." Oh, man. I need that bullet. I feel like an a-hole, but I need that bullet. I don't know what adventure awaits me, trying to find the lights and get home. He's going to be dead. I hate this. I hate it. Why, game? Why? I'm going to doom him to more terror and pain before he finally succumbs, but He's damn near there now. I can't. Don't shoot him. Save the bullet. Oh man, you did not shoot the man. And I can't do that anyway. Oh my God, I can't do it. I'm sorry. I say I can't. What I don't tell him is that I'm in a situation where I have to keep this one bullet. I can't waste it on him. He whimpers and I look away, unable to see the misery on his face. Behind me, I hear him give a mix between a scream and high-pitched noises of the army of creatures. Their volume rises as he lets out cry after cry. I clench my teeth as the torture continues, and then suddenly his voice is silenced, and only the sick, static sound remains. And that's when I see the shimmers wavering to my right, in the direction I had originally come from. I look back to the monsters and see that they have now noticed me. Some of them begin floating up the walls of the crevice. They're less than 10 feet away. The shimmers of white light are within arm's reach, the movements reminding me of fish in an aquarium. I reach out and feel myself accepted by them again. I feel the sensation of wind, and I wait for the feeling of being pushed out back into the tunnel of the facility. But it doesn't come this time. This time I feel something else. I feel a tugging sensation that seems to want to drag me in all directions at once. As the world goes dark, I realize that I am somewhere else, and it is not the darkness of the tunnel. This is the darkness of a total void. Oh no, we didn't want to go to the void. This is bad. Uh-oh. There is darkness around me everywhere. Nothingness. I feel nothing under my feet, nothing to my sides. I can't touch or sense anything at all. I don't even know which way is up or down. It's as though I am all that exists. And as I remain here, I just hear silence, not even the sound of my own heart beating. The blackness is so deep that I feel I can't distinguish between my thoughts and what is real. I hear screaming, but I can't tell if it's someone else or my mind screaming to fill the void. Let's try to move. I try to kick and move my arms, but it's not working. But it's not clear in what way that it's not working. Are my limbs not moving, or have they gone numb? It's impossible to tell. My body has just become absent of all sensation. I assume this is the place that Strickland referred to, the place between dimensions. This darkness could consume me if it wanted to. I try to will myself out of it, to have those shimmering lights spit me out, but it isn't happening. At this point, my mind starts to hallucinate, or at least I think it does. Are they visions? My mind playing tricks on me? I can't tell. All I can do is watch. I see the logging site. There's an image of Tony's lifeless body after I pulled it from under the dozer. I see myself talking to Dennis, and he looks distraught as I tell him that Tony is gone. Then the scene rearranges itself, and I'm standing between Dennis and Marcus's gun. It changes again, and the shape of Marcus lies on the ground, still hell-bent on revenge, even after I let him live. In my mind, I am sobbing as I shoot off Dennis's hand, trying to convince myself that it was the only way to save him, but he will never forgive me. I try to let out a scream as Dennis and I watch Amy get blown apart by the barrel's explosions, but there's still no sound. And just when I feel like I can't take any more of this, I see the man in that strange world begging for death. I watch as he is distorted and torn by the beasts. All of these things are flooding my mind, and it feels like my brain is vomiting. Yet in the midst of it all, I see what's really important, the switch. In my mind's eye, I see that glowing light in the tunnel, the one far ahead, small and distant. I focus my mind on the tunnel and the image of the flickering light. With a mental effort so strong that it is nearly a physical motion, I make myself envision that little light in the tunnel as if it were right here in front of me. With that, I feel the wind again, a light breeze that seems to come from everywhere. And then with a relief that I can only imagine feels like death, I move forward. Oh, Jeez Louise. I am ejected from the void, and I'm suddenly standing in the tunnel again. I let out a wail of triumph that turns into a bout of weeping. The weeping only intensifies when I see that the light up ahead, the flickering blue light. Somewhere behind me I hear crackling noises. I can only hope that they haven't reached Dennis, but it is too late to even worry about that. After coming this far, I am not about to turn back. I feel like I can listen to get a better read on where they are, or I can just make a break for it. But what do? Try to listen or run? Run. I don't even bother looking back. There's just no time. Instead, I run with all my might straight ahead, my focus on that little blue light ahead of me. As I run, I see a different light, a white one, flickering in my peripheral vision. It's another one of those shimmers to the other worlds. It seems that they are appearing and disappearing with more frequency now. Strickland was right. These things could reach the surface soon, unleashing even more monsters. This thought makes me refocus on the little blue light, the man-made light, the switch. The blue light gets closer, and as it does, I can make out a square shape on it. This has to be it. The familiar static scream of the monsters is much closer now. I've got to be quick. I grip the gun tightly, knowing that I only have one bullet remaining, the bullet that the man in the other world wanted me to use to end his life. I run ahead into the darkness, my eyes locked on the switch that I assume is going to kill not only the creatures, but myself as well. As I approach, I see the lever. It's covered by a glass box that I will need to break. The blue light is directly beneath this, highlighting a series of tubes and wires that snake into the inner workings of the device. In the middle of this is blackness, not like a darkly colored part of a machine, but just a hole in reality. It almost looks like an illusion. All the while, I can hear the static of the creatures coming up dangerously close now. I have no idea how much time I have. Smash the glass. Scheiß dem Fenster. I draw back the stock of the gun and I smash through the glass box that houses the lever. The glass shattering is like music to my ears. I reach out for the lever, my hand grasps it, but without warning I feel immense pain course through my body. It feels like a fire racing down my back, causing me to fall to one knee in agony. There's only one of them that I can see anyway. It blasts horrible static noise at me as I ready my gun. One bullet left. I am so glad I didn't put that poor man in the other place out of his misery. I take aim and I fire. My accuracy is rewarded with a spew of white gas from the creature's core. It backs away in defense or annoyance, I'm not sure. I start to turn back to the switch when I hear a second creature coming up behind me. Its tentacles melt into me and I scream. I can't help it. I sound like a wild animal. I can try to fend them off, or I can go for broke and focus on the lever. Creatures be damned. We are dead either way. Go for the lever. Take it all out. I put all of my strength into my legs. The moment the monster is in front of me draws back its eel-like arms to grab me, I pivot backwards. My back strikes the machine, sending agony rocketing through my body. I am so thankful I broke the glass before this moment, before the coming violence. I stretch out and grab the lever. With one last desperate scream that shreds my voice, I jam it down. The tunnel is suddenly filled with a flash of intense darkness. It expands from the switch, swallowing the matter around it. At first, I am sure this is the end of me. I expect the darkness will consume me, and death will follow. But then another shimmer of dancing white light appears next to me. There are more of those streams of light, little rips in space, like the ones that previously sent me to that ungodly world and then to the void. With nothing else to do but die, I try to escape into the shimmer. When that stream of light envelops me, the expanding darkness of the switch is gone, and I feel a huge push. Oh. My body feels stretched, collapsing, like I'm falling in all directions at once. The world goes white, and then there are pinpoints of stars everywhere. One of them breezes directly by my right, and I see something that looks like a spiral galaxy distorted in its folds. To my right, I see an endless stretch of stars and gas clouds forming some galactic architecture. But beyond that is immeasurable beauty, and I notice something else. I am seeing the same star patterns over and over. They are repeating like reflections in an endless mirror. Are these different versions of the same galaxies? The same realities? To my left, I see a calm blue world and can barely make out trees, familiar Kentucky trees that I've been around for the last few weeks. To my right, I see a copy, an orange world. There are trees there as well, but something is strange and disturbing. As I zoom by, I'm not sure how much control I have in this unusual place, but if I can direct myself, it's worth trying. Head to the blue world, head to the orange world. No, hell no, blue world. You decide to head to the blue world. I try to focus my mind on heading toward the blue world, not knowing what to expect. My breath escapes me for a moment. Everything is dark and peaceful and nothing hurts. Oh boy. With breath back inside my body, I gasp and open my eyes. I'm back at the logging site. How? I'm not sure. Did the shimmers react with the implosion of the switch? Some other accident? I have no idea. I sit up right away and become instantly dizzy. Dennis, I say. There's no reason to think that he survived whatever happened in the tunnel, but there's a sort of certainty that gets me to my feet. I wonder if I am somehow back in time before we found the facility, but what happens next makes me realize that that cannot be true. As I start walking forward, I feel a tremor in the ground. Somewhere off in the distance, I hear a metallic groan. The buried facility is being ripped apart under the ground by the activation of the switch. There is no way Barksdale and Marcus survived. Good riddance. I stumble a bit, and when I do, I see the body on the forest floor. It's Dennis. But how is he here? Did he get caught in those shimmers as well? I decide I don't really care, and I scramble over to him. Dennis, can you hear me? Yeah, he says, the slightest twitch behind his eyes, and for a moment that's good enough for me. To my left, through a tangle of partially destroyed trees and woodland, a pillar of smoke begins to rise in the air. We've made it out of the facility alive, and that, I suppose, is the most important thing. It's then that I look up and I notice the sky. Uh-oh, what? The sky is beautiful and familiar, unobstructed by the trees that had been standing several minutes ago. I exhale and let my body begin to relax. It's finally over. I'm not sure how long it will take me to get back to some semblance of a life, but one thing I know for sure, any day above ground is a good day. Ooh, the end. Oh man, that was a good story. What was do we get a last score? What was our score? Tough it out. You and 64% of players didn't take the painkillers. Who survives? You and 33% of players chose to save Dennis instead of Amy. Wow. Mercy. You and 70% of players did not kill the man who begged for death. Going home. You and 83% of players headed toward the blue world and went home. I am amazed that only 33% saved Dennis. I mean, I get it. He was very, very injured. But he was our friend. I mean, Amy's cool and all. She could corroborate our story. She knows what she's doing. She knows where she's going. But Dennis is our friend. I don't know. I'm not judging people. I'm not saying that's the wrong choice or the right choice. I mean, you got to make a choice. But I'm surprised that it's that. I guess because he was so injured. That's amazing. 83% chose blue. Yeah, because yellow is like poison gas. And you don't want to go toward yellow-orange color. Ugh. Blue, little blue marble, little blue planet, little blue world. Wow. That was an incredible story. I really liked that. It had me on the edge of my seat. It had me creeped out. I got some goosebumps going. All indications of a good, creepy story for Sadie. I had to make some terrible, terrible choices, some that'll haunt me for a long time. I can't believe I cut Dennis's hand off. I can't let that go. I just can't. Wow. Well, this was excellent. This is a nice little game, a nice novel. that we get to explore and live in for a little while, make some hard choices, make some easy choices. I do wonder if there are other endings. I haven't actually looked that up. And how much some of those, particularly later in the game or end game choices, how much they change things. Like obviously picking Blue World or Orange World is going to change stuff. But what if I had decided to save Amy? Or what if I had decided to take the painkillers? These things could have had some pretty strong ripple effect into the ending of the story. And I wonder if there are multiple endings. I bet there might be. But all in all, a really good story. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did too. Check it out on Steam. I'll leave a link in the down below if you want to get it for yourselves and test out some of the different answers and see if there are different endings. And hey, let me know if you discover something else or you uncover a whole different, not chapter really, but a whole different set of details about the backstory perhaps. Who knows? All right, guys, until next time, I see ya.